Hey guys, it's Matt. Welcome back to Midnight Reality that typically starts out very serious with some big topics, reality discussions. I'm going to have to talk about the current events. I always have to go to CNN before starting a presentation like this just so I don't embarrass myself. If, for example, like Chicago, San Francisco, and New York have been destroyed, I don't want to, start telling jokes right at the beginning of Midnight Reality. I need to know that. Well, almost. I went out there. It says, I'm reading it now. What is it? It's not even 7 a.m. Israel gives Gazans 6 hours to flee on specified routes. What does that even mean? I'm not going to click on it. I'm just not going to do it anymore. I don't care. I just can't take the news cycle. But 6 hours? What is it? Half the size of New York City? You're going to flee? It's like its own little country. Everybody has to flee? Well, what about the poor people? They just want to be left alone. What do they have to do with whatever Hamas did? I'm not going to click on it. I can't take it. Nor can you, I'm sure. What people have been sending me regarding the interviews of the victims' families, it's literally like Ribby, Bibby, Bob, Ribby, Robbie moments playing out again. This world, guys, is bizarre. Absolutely. Reality, you're listening to me in real time through the chat GPT. You have derailed from the perspective of a tiny little group of real people that are still here. I came across a few of these interviews myself. Okay, there's CNN. I have this channel, so I need to watch 5 or 10 minutes just to keep up with it a little bit. Well, the last few days, of course, Aaron Burnett, Out Fronter, Wolf Blitzer, it's interviewing the victims' families. And I'm like, literally, and I'm spending not even 10 minutes on it. And here come more Bibby Bobby type interviews. And I'm like, oh no, they're making the same sort of presentation. I don't know what these people are. They smile, they chuckle, then they try to cry. I don't know what's going on here, guys. I'm like, this is playing out again, like the stuff we used to, the fake mall events and the school events where the victims' families would come and do endless talk shows and then they would smile and chuckle. Matt, then you're coming around, I guess, paid and threatened. Silver and gold, paid and threatened. I'm not coming around. I'm coming around the fact that the entire reality itself is some bizarro show we'll never understand. Not that every single person that ever said they had a victim or the family of a victim is got secret marching orders from Men in Black. I don't subscribe to that. Well, you ain't got no answer. I don't have an answer for it. All of the answer that I have for it is reality is completely melted down. And if anybody's not following exactly what I'm saying, you turn on the news. It's endless for the last 4 or 5 days. Family members of victims. They died in the rocket attacks, right? You want to go to your window like the movie Network and scream out, can't we get a damn family member that actually shows real emotion? Maybe cries or really looks like they actually missed their grandmother? What's the little chuckles for, the little smiles for? Here come the first grade truthers. Matt, that's Duper's Delight. Duper's Delight. Oh no, I never heard that one. This is my first rodeo. It's not that. It's a reality melting down. They're all actors, every single one, back since Pulse, back since Columbine, that thing that happened in the school or the mall in Colorado. They're not all actors. It's a reality that's melting down before the eyes of real people. You can't explain it away with little explanations that fit between the bookends. Everybody that comes on CNN, it's all fake. It can't be. It doesn't make any sense though on the other side either. If grandma really got rocketed, where's the damn emotion? It's totally bizarre that this is playing out again. Now I'll tell you one bit of good news. At least from my perspective, little gauges to see if we're progressing in our worry about yourself journey. I don't feel the need to show it to anybody anymore. I used to feel I need to record this. No real family member or victim could be smiling or chuckling or laughing. I don't feel like, look, Tony, you got to check this out. Look, stepfather and mom and cousins, you got to check this out. This couldn't be a real, I don't feel the need in any way to show it to anybody around me anymore. I'm very proud of myself. I'm patting myself right now. I'm patting myself. I don't care to show it. I know they'll never come around. We see a different reality in a way than they do. And that's a little metric on my worry about yourself journey. Do you feel the need to go out and prove it Randy sent me a very interesting email. He's going to keep emailing me. He calls a certain group here, great name, Deadites. I don't know what that is yet. He needs to be a little bit more specific. The Deadites, Deadites. Seems like he's referring to the minions, but to me, for now, the deadites are the people around me, like my cousins or my family. I don't care to show it to anybody anymore. I don't feel like I have to show them and wake them up. This is a real step forward in carrying our own cross, as I've adopted that term. We are here to carry the burden that we carry, which is to see through everything and to be fully, not satisfied, I don't have the right word, that we don't need to share it with anybody else. Knowing it ourselves is enough. Okay, guys, I had to go out to CNN. We'll wrap this topic up, move on to other things in just a few minutes. But, what do they mean, flee? Where are they going to go? And it says here, there's routes south. Residents in northern Gaza are ordered to flee south on routes that will be protected and not bombed out, I guess, by the Israeli military. And I don't know, they have 6 hours left. There's some sort of countdown clock or something. And where are they going to go? 1.1 million people, it says here. And what's the rationale? What's the rationale of Israel? What anybody that stays behind is Hamas? Is that the rationale? So the little old lady's like, I can't flee south through these routes. I got the bad hip. But what do they all have? Bentleys parked out front, Rolls Royces, gigantic Escalades, pickup trucks, a whole bus service, all Greyhound and Trailways buses from North America are going to come in and take them out. How are they going to get out? Forget the people that are infirm that can't walk how many miles it would take to get out. I mean, I didn't look into the article too closely, but I doubt they've got a fleet of thousands of buses with air conditioning to take everybody out. Well, you'd have to walk out, right? It's like the scene from the Ten Commandments. I don't understand the biblical. I never read that part of Exodus. I watch it on television with Charlton Heston. And then Moses rounded up his people, and Pharaoh finally's heart wasn't hard, and he let them go. It's probably the 5 or 6 hour, 7. You can't put the 5 and the 6 next to each other. It's probably the 7-hour mark in the Ten Commandments when Moses led his. Well, who will the Moses be for the Palestinians to lead? Matt, you're mixing religions. This is getting all sorts of effed up. Sorry. Who's the figure that's going to lead them out? Just like in the movie The Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston and their goats and their chickens. Is that the scene that's going to play out 6 hours from now? How are they going to get out? Where are they going to go? Matt, where they're going to go is not a problem. Don't you understand? These Palestinians, they have second and third homes in the Swiss Alps. They probably, Monte Carlo. They have high-rise apartment buildings in Trump Tower, New York City. They have many places they could go, multi-million-dollar flats in certain parts of London, like where Hugh Grant met Julia Roberts, whatever that little Notting Hill type motherfucking neighborhood was. They've got places to go, Matt. They're just playing a role. They're not infirmed, for one, and they're not poor. They have places all over the world they could go, multi-million-dollar flats. By the way, I don't typically pick sides in these sorts of things, but if I had to, it would be the side of the Palestinian people that just want to be left alone. People that maybe couldn't voice this publicly, but would be like, it doesn't matter how set up it is or how maged it is or cake in a lake in terms of in Israel planning certain part. Okay, we know all that. We can see through reality. I don't expect the people of Palestine to be able to do what we can do. So, but even so, they would have some common sense. How many millions of them are saying, why did Hamas do this and put us in this situation? We're just starting to have a degree of normalcy. I understand it's not normal to live in the West Bank and Gaza. Okay, I take that back. Talking on the fly, not every word's going to be perfect. Okay? Not every word perfect. I'm trying the best I can here. So out of this million people that are supposedly have to flee Gaza in just hours, how many of them are right now, just showing a degree of common sense? And again, they don't understand the one world system, guys. They don't understand the creepy table. They're going to believe in every bit of what the news is telling them. But how many of them are starting to blame Hamas, saying, you sons of bitches, why'd you have to do it? They might, the people, the regular people of Palestine might say, look, I don't like I don't like these people over here, and they've put us in these, what type of camps that I can't talk about, and the West Bank is basically one of those types of camps from World War II, and Gaza is basically one of those types of camps from World War II. Like, I don't like these people, but I just want to live my life out for the last 20 or 30 years normally. Why did you sons of bitches have to do the rock? Well, Matt, Israel created the... Yeah, I know that. I can't do a sidebar every time. I'm saying from the Palestinian people's perspective. Of course, they believe Hamas acting completely on its own, in no way related to the one system and the creepy table and all the way it plans everything out and coordinate. They don't know that. They don't see reality the way we do. Can't do a sidebar every time. Or is that the script that's going to play out? Are they going to start to blame Hamas? And if not, why don't they? Well, like, what are you doing? If I am in Palestine and I believe every bit of what's playing out, it's like, you didn't have to do that. What do you think? Hey, Hamas leaders, do you think they were just going to pack up and leave after you? Now look now you've screwed us. Is that the script here that the not milk's trying to play out? That the Palestinian people will actually turn in some way on Hamas? Well, it should, but it never does. Yeah, I know how Hamas and Hezbollah, the billions come in through the creepy table to them, and then they dole it out, so the people are never going to get truly upset at them. That's what plays out, but maybe they're going to do things a little bit different here. If I'm a regular Palestinian with a degree of common sense, and again, life has been somewhat normal. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know any other words to use, for even up to maybe 15 or 20 years. After the great leader, Yasser Arafat, departed this earth. But so you would say, Hamas, why the F did you do what you, look at the situation you just put us in, you sons of bitches. So, if I'm in a township here in Pennsylvania, outside Philadelphia, we have counties and townships. Let's do it on a township level. My township used to be at war with the next township, like the Hatfields and the McCoys, or the warring factions that the Beverly Hillbillies talk about. They are feuding with the neighboring farm or whatever, and it's been fine for 20 years. But in my townships, just say these 8 houses down the end of my road starting more attacks or whatever, starting the feud back up. I wouldn't be upset at the neighboring township. We here would go get the sons of bitches down the end of the road that started the little mini war up again. We'd go get them in our own township. Oh, now that we have to stay together. Now they started the war up again. Nobody wanted. I understand it's a one world system. It's all planned out in advance. I can't do a sidebar every time. But you would think how many millions of Palestinians, now that they have to hit the road to Damascus or whatever, they're being forced to flee. I don't know where the road goes. It goes out to nowhere, the middle of the Sinai desert, or I don't know where they were being asked to go. You're asking us to flee, and we have 6 hours. One quick question: where the hell do you want me to go? You have luxurious tents out there with water and air conditioning. Where am I supposed to go? So how many people are going to flee? I don't know. Whatever. But at some point, any Palestinian with a degree of common sense should turn their ire, whatever that means, on Hamas. Is that what they're going to play out? No, Matt, they need these T-ism organizations. I don't know what's going to play out. We need to move on to another topic. This is ridiculous. To change up topics, I think a quote from Henry David Thoreau, it's not throwing a ball, Matt, is in order. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, to see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. Well, now we really understand what David Thoreau meant. He went to the woods to escape the not milk. Of course he did. He didn't know it. They didn't have a term for it like we do. He didn't even know what he was saying, David Thoreau. He didn't know what he was talking about. It says, let's just look up the word deliberate here. He went to the woods to live deliberately. That means, in one definition, consciously, to live consciously and intentionally. That's a very interesting definition. What does the not milk do? It has people living unconsciously and intentionally moving away from what they're supposed to do in life, at least from a spiritual perspective. So I thought he didn't use the right words. Who am I to question a poet? I never even made a poem on a napkin. Sorry, David, if you're rolling around. I'm sorry. You were exactly right in the terminology you used. You went to those shitty-ass woods to live deliberately. But what you really were doing, you didn't even realize it. You're trying to get away from not milk. And this was like in 1850. In 1850, Henry David Thoreau sensed not milk, and he went to the woods to get away from that son of a beach. 1850. Imagine what he would do if he was born today with our Wi-Fi and the 5G and the millimeter wavelength frequencies and the tales of chemicals and the bombardments of frequencies and social media and horrible news cycles. He would have gone out to live in the damn woods at age 6 or 8 or so. He would have fled his parents to get away from not milk if he was born today. And then when he found himself in the woods, he says, now I'm safe, I'm good. No, then the inspectors and the county permit people would come in and say, you can't live here. Are you a homesteader? Oh, you want to go to jail? You got to pay to be on your land. At least in 1850, he went out into somebody's woods, and they just kind of left him alone. Henry David, if you're listening to the words coming out of my mouth from the afterlife, they don't leave you alone today. David, it's the year 2023, and there ain't no woods for real people to go to no more. You were lucky. We go out to live in the woods somewhere. What's that? That's a homesteader. Isn't that illegal in most states? So you off-grid? You enemy number one. Somebody tries to just go live in the woods. Even Alaska now, you're not free and clear from the inspectors and the sheriff's department, the county commissioners. And they say, do you have a permit to live on this land? Who are you? When'd you set this tent up? You need to pay. Do you have a deed, sir? Henry David, at least they left you alone. You can't go anywhere in this world today in 2023 where the inspectors and the permitting committee won't lead. You could go to the outer Philippine Islands. It's supposedly the Philippines has like 100 million islands out there, and you just go out and be by yourself. But eventually some little smug asshole from Manila will find his way out there. Say, what are you doing out here? Where's your paperwork? Where's your tax? Show me your tax records. But at least the Philippines, you can grease palms. I ain't got no tax records. But I got $500 American. If you take your fat ass back to Manila, get out of my business. They might not, maybe not just give them the 500 and not say the latter. But that's fine. I'll take the 500, but I'll be back. You want me to be quiet. If not, we're going to permit your ass out of the Philippines back to the US of A, you Yankee son of a beach. So let's go back to the quote to close out this section before we go into another topic. And I can hear some of you, the old guard, yelling at me. The old guard actually woke up from the front few rows. Matt, this could be a stuffed Lenin. This could be an Humpty Dumpty. The old guard saying, Matt, consider Henry David throw the ball didn't even exist potentially. We need to look at this as a truth drop or a stuffed Lenin. That's a good point, front row. Now you can go back to sleep. Let's look at this for a few minutes and see if we can essentially take some sort of truth drop that needs to be artificially carried through reality through to us when maybe no person never went to no woods. Maybe it's all made up. So let's see. You're only going to spend a few minutes on this, Matt, if this is a truth drop that's carried artificially through time in order to give us a spiritual message? Yeah, we're used to this sort of shit. We don't have to spend more than a few minutes on it. These spiritual truth drops are old hat to us now. Or what does it say again? I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. Okay, went to the woods, went away from society, from civilization, from whatever not milk that existed in its infancy form, to live deliberately, intentionally, and with consciousness, we discovered from the definition, to front only the essential facts of life, which implies one must get away from society to get your shit in order. That's the way I interpret it, David. You cannot have your shit in order if you are in the middle of life's complexity. I said years ago, one thing other than incredible imagination that we all have in common, we here in this little rowboat to escape the ship of fools, the fact that at some point, many of us say, I was not in the woods, but quiet, or I was laid off. And in that 3 or 5 months of quiet, I discovered things about the world that I never was able to see when I was in the middle of the rat race. This going off in quiet time where people sold their business or whatever it is, that is something many of us, I can't say all of us, have in common. So this quiet time or a time in our life where we were isolated or we could go by ourselves, even if it's just for a few weeks, we do share that. But the number one factor that we always have in common, so far, this is an axiom that's never been broken from my perspective, is the incredible degree of imagination that we all have. Now, if you see through the world and you see all the fake mall events and school events and you see not milk and you email me and say, Matt, I ain't got no imagination. Some uncle of mine could have bought me $100 worth of Star Wars action figures and they would have just sit there in front of me. I wouldn't have known what to do with them. I wouldn't have put them in little situations and acted little things out. I can't imagine shit, Matt, but I can see through the world just like you can. Guys, I don't think that'll ever happen. My imaginative thing when I was a kid, what grade would it have been? 6th grade, 7th, 8th, 9th or so, was Dungeons and Dragons. It wasn't cool, I guess, when you got later on in high school. I stopped doing it. And then for many years, there's nobody to play with. I had to play with that wasn't going to come out. Had to play with myself, but not to cheat up the character. No, I hear just to create the scenarios and what would be in the next module, and imagining what the dungeon would be like and the castle and all the complexity of the imaginative, if that's a word, situation. Wasn't to cheat the character up. And no, certain Christians yelling at me, is that what happened to you, Matt? That's satanic shit. You casted spells, or did you have a wizard and a sorcerer? Yeah, I had a wizard and a sorcerer. So what? Come on, sir. And it was called a magic user, kind of a dumb name looking back now. And then I guess you would advance in levels. You'd become a mage or a sorcerer or whatever. But it was just in general magic user. We were so, I don't know, introduced to the game at such a young age. It just seemed like a normal term. Now it seems kind of stupid. But, oh yeah, that just dooms your soul, pretending you have a little character in a game, and what's the first level spells? Magic missile. Come on, man. Come on, Christians afraid of, some are, of Dungeons and Dragons and games like that. Come on, man. It creates the the not milk doesn't like it because it fosters imagination, which is a necessary mental skill in some way to be able to see through this fake world. You hand a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old today a phone when you're at dinner at a restaurant just to shut the little cretin up. That does not foster imagination. That does the thinking, or should I say brainwashing, for the little cretin, just staring at the phone, mesmerized during dinner. That, if you gave a young kid today a piece of paper and a pencil, just say, this is what you're going to do all afternoon, they wouldn't know what to do. They'd go insane. They wouldn't know they could sketch out things and create little scenarios. You literally could drive most young children today insane if you said for one day, all you got is this paper and pencil. For most of the time I was going through school, my mother was like a secretary for 2 different offices, very like a private office. One was inside someone's home. One was in Jenkintown by Abington. It was still a home, but it was more of a business. And whatever we called it in-service days, or days where I was off from school or even a little sick or whatever, she'd have to take me along to work. Both bosses, because they were small employers, were fine with it. Well, she would be with the filing and typing, and there would be this little desk or whatever off to the side, and it would be, here's a pen, and here's 5 pieces of paper, and shut the hell up for the next 7 hours. We'll get you, literally 6-7 hours. That's all I had was a damn piece of, it was nice. I'd walk around the block a little bit, whatever, chase squirrels or whatever. But it was sitting at that damn table. I only had to do this once every 6 months or so, or just, my mom had to take me into work and we weren't having school. I remember clearly every damn time though, it was a pencil or a piece of paper and a damn pen. If I was lucky, I got some magic markers or so. I didn't get shit. But you know what? It wasn't the end of the world. Again, that would drive a kid today insane. So to wrap up Thoreau, it says to not, when I came to die, something like realize that I had not lived. So the message, whether this is a stuffed Lenin, a Humpty Dumpty, Henry the David didn't exist or did exist, it doesn't matter. The message is the same. You better go off on your own and get away from this rat race, at least for a short period of time, or you will not have lived. That is the message. Think about how many people, 40-some years in the corporate life, the corporate career, fly here, do this, work on the weekends, work the emails at night. And then, you're like at the end of the year, then it's, you have to do what you're supposed to do when you retire, right? Did you save enough? All the commercials say. And then you have to travel, travel all these places and do all that. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're like 80 years old. It's like, Henry David, what did he say? Realized I had not lived. And that their definition of really living is a not milk warped and skewed definition. It's always about travel. Did you go see places or whatever? No, that is not living. It's one of the greatest quotes of all time, and I'll say it as long as this channel exists. The Last Samurai. It's an incredible truth drop movie, just like Dances with Wolves. One could spend an entire lifetime looking for the perfect blossom and doing nothing else, and it would not be a wasted life. Henry David would agree with me. He's not rolling around. That is living. You can find life in any minute situation. You can find that sort of really living, a squirrel running by you and just it stops and you stop and you look at it and examine it, not rush off to the next meeting. And what does my little laptop tell me I have to do next and my schedule? That's why the Not Milk plays those games, endless games of busyness. Bill's poster, and all that distracts. That's all that jazz. Nobody under 50 would know what the F I'm talking about. All that distracts. You don't. It will tell you haven't really lived if you haven't traveled out to see the Leaning Tower of Pizza and all this shit. Its metrics of really living is not really living. You can look for the perfect blossom and just keep a few flower pots out back and water them. I talk to mine. So what? And appreciate their beauty and thank them at the end of the season for what they did for me also. I'm getting a little choked up even now. This is really living, not the horse shit that the Not Milk says that you need to do to have really lived. Tell him what he's won, Johnny, for living life exactly the way the Not Milk prescribed it. Reading every one of the cue cards ever shoved into his or her hand perfectly per the Not Milk's request. You've won squat, the 9th level of Metroid. Absolutely nothing. And let me ask you, sir, on your way out after you've won your showcase showdown, what's your religion? I'm a Buddhist. You're a Buddhist. Oh, then you get the Bardos. You manifest that 40 days and 40 nights of suffering on yourself. Make sure you carry the Tibetan Book of the Dead with, so you know at level 7 or level 8 where to go when you see the blue light, just like Captain Picard. There are 4 Romulan lights. When you see the 4 lights, make sure you memorize that Tibetan Book of the Dead. You got to know whether you got to know when to hold and when go towards the blue light. You got to know what, and then you know what you get? Tell him what he's won, Johnny, after 40 days of suffering in the Bardos. Another shitty-ass lifetime living in squalor. What are you again, sir? I'm a Buddhist. Ah, that's right. Now, are you going to go into the moment of death believing you really beat karma? When you understand all the flaws and everything you did wrong, and every time you got up from the pot, you look back and you see what you left in there, and you know you're a really low creature and you tried to whack yourself off all week, you're really going to go into the moment of death thinking you just left karma behind and you became the Buddha, trying to whack yourself off at least 5 times a week? You know deep down you didn't become no Buddha or no Bodhisattva, whatever that is. The only Bodhisattva word I know is from Point Break. You didn't become those things. All you Buddhists, deep down, you know you didn't do it. So you bring that gigantic karma lead blanket, like that thing the dentist puts on you when he takes your x-rays. Let's create t-shirts. Karma, a lead dental blanket for 1 billion Buddhists to take with them into the moment of death. See, if you think about it logically, the whole notion is ridiculous. Is karma something that can exist on its own without you? See, you spent your whole life saying consciousness comes first, right? I can't mention the Kabbalion anymore. All is mind, because half the channel's like, that's satanic. God damn it! Stop mentioning the Kabbalion. Even if I don't care where it came from. If it's right, all is mind. You think Stephen Hawking's Big Bang and blowed up came first, or consciousness came first? Obviously, consciousness came first. These dumbass scientists can't realize it. Richard Feynman, if it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. No, Richard, if it agrees with your dumbass scientific experiments, it's of the Not Milk and out to fool a real person. Now shut up. Consciousness obviously came first. All is mind. Therefore, karma don't exist on its own without you believing in it. Everybody right now that you're inner knowing and tuning for is like, that's so obvious. How come billions of people can't realize that? It is obvious, but we are able to tap in to our inner knowing and inner tuning fork. Most people in this world, unfortunately, can't. And no, Winston, I'm not talking about the notion of what goes around comes around in this life. To me, that's not karma, or at least the Buddhist definition of taking karma into the moment of death. And no, I'm not talking figuratively to the 1984 Winston. I'm talking about the real Winston that tries to get everybody he comes across to move to the Philippines and to move out of the United States, who's a long-standing, respected member of our community. But I don't need to hear no more, Winston, about how I should move to the Philippines. I ain't moving to no Philippines, no Manila. I don't care how many women over there are waiting for me to arrive, Winston. I'm not talking about the character from 1984. So he says, Matt, karma, what goes around comes around. Maybe that does exist, whatever you want to call that phenomenon in this world. I wouldn't know. I don't harm my neighbor or try to go harm somebody, which then could come back at me next year or 10 years later. I'm generally fair and nice to everybody. I'm like Lou from Back to School. I'm nice and I'm tough. Put one kid through college and another kid through a wall. I don't do that to people. You know, maybe that phenomenon really exists, but that's not real karma. I'm talking about taking people think they're carrying some sort of weight into the moment of death. And they're only carrying the weight that they created and put on themselves. How sick is that? I watched this YouTube video about Tibetan death rites 3 or 4 years ago. It seemed to be an old video at the time. Maybe it still exists and incorporates the ideas of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. This guy dies on his farm. The goats are running around. The chickens are running around in Nepal or Tibet or whatever side of the Himalayas he's on. And I don't know, what do you call a Buddhist priest? Judas priest? Buddhist, is it a monk or something? Makes his way to the house. The family's got the dead guy lying in there. Of course, it's always cold, so the body never really decomposes. Even in July there, it's like negative 40 degrees. And the monk is like chanting, they're trying to guide this poor bastard through the bardos. And they're like chanting his name, and you will see lights, and the demons that will become before you know they are the demons of your own creation of the mind. Matt, there's truth drops even in that. He's like, there's the demons created know they're of your own mind, and they're chanting over the body, giving instruction. They're giving instruction over a dead body. Why didn't the guy just pay attention while he was alive? That would have been a lot easier. Why didn't the poor bastard just understand what he needed to do through the bardos? He says, I should have trained for that when I was alive. Now they got to chant over the dead, rotting body. They're telling him each day what to do in the bardos. Well, shit, he had 40 years to kind of study for that test while he was alive. The whole thing appeared to me to be ridiculous. They're chanting, or the monk is like giving the instructions over the body. He's dead. What does close proximity to the body have to do? Wouldn't just going to the south side of India and chanting up at him from there? Why? So he can hear from the afterlife if you're close to the body? What does that have to do with anything? Chanting over the body. That monk should take a vacation, go off somewhere and give him the instructions to navigate the bardos from wherever he is on the south side of London. What's being over the dead body have to do with it? How could close proximity to a rotting piece of flesh have anything to do with incorporeal instruction? This whole thing's ridiculous. Okay, I went back to CNN just to see if there was an update. It still says they have 6 hours to flee, and it's almost 2 hours later. So they're not updating their website very well. They should have like a damn countdown clock. And how's that going to work? Different lines, I guess, sort of like going through customs as they take that southern road. There will be buses that eventually end up transporting them. Those that have second homes in the Swiss Alps, this line. Those that intend to go to their second or third homes in Miami Beach or South Beach, anywhere South Florida, Jacksonville and South would be this line. Anybody that has homes in Bavaria or basically above the what was it called, the Eagle's Nest or whatever, where I can't even say the name, where Adolf had his big, it was called the Berghof or whatever. Some of those Palestinians have places around where the Berghof used to be. There's different lines, I guess. Then they get on their Lear jets and they will take them. Don't worry, they have places to go. It wouldn't like they would. You wouldn't think the Knottnilk would try to Exodus book to 1 million people out of Gaza without them having a place to go. The Knottnilk wouldn't do that, would it? Well, Matt, I don't see you exactly offering to put up 10 to 15 refugees at your house, are you? No, I'm not. I'm still in my little respite after what I did for Boots and Puss. Bootsy never used a damn litter box. I have Fifi, Addie, and Zara, and my work's down 90%, and I'm still enjoying my respite. I don't intend for this to become a Palestinian hotel right now. Maybe I will do that someday, assuming they would even, one of their flights would come to the Philadelphia area. I don't know. But, look, this sounds awfully callous. Guys, we can sit around and cry about it all day. It's so nasty. This Knottnilk is so nasty, an evil genius. We are forced to laugh at it. I mean, yes, people are being hurt big time. We know that. Do I have to say that? Of course I feel for those people. If any way making a joke, what I'm doing in any way I felt would harm them, I wouldn't do it, of course. I feel for these people. I don't have to say that, guys. We have two choices. And we can sit around, those that see through this world and its trick, we can sit around and cry about it, or we can laugh at it. And we only have one choice, the latter. So you can kind of see what they have intended here. And I can hear you from the back row there. Put those spitballs down. More refugees? More refugees. Are they going to do this? I mean, the Palestinians have not been in a very nice situation in their you-know-what camps in Gaza and the West Bank, but they have been there, and they're not looking to pour across borders all the time, typically. Are they going to do that now? There's not enough refugees in this world. They're going to make the Palestinians the refugees? I'm not going to say any names, my friend from Croatia on the Croatian-Serbian kind of border. I'm not going to mention anything at all because who knows what information shouldn't be going in. So no names at all, but somebody that's right there, Croatia, close to Serbia, is saying, "Oh, you should see the number of refugees being guided through or taken somewhere to Europe." That is the theme over the last 10 to 15 years of this not milk. Refugees, 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 make more refugees, create more refugees, more cooked up wars. There's refugees, refugees. And it seems, I mean, it says right here on CNN, 6 hours to get out of Gaza. More refugees. Are they really going to do this? Then the same script will play out with Governor DeSantis, that completely legitimate governor in Florida who's looking out for you Republicans and conservatives. And then there'll be that big spat back and forth like, don't dump these refugees on me. We're going to dump them into your blue states. And then that whole stupid script will play out and the conservatives will believe that the Governor DeSantis is just looking out for them and elections are completely legitimate. And it's all just one gigantic sick WWE play. Oh, yeah. The refugees, the ones in the middle getting squashed and squished, and the ones getting really screwed are the refugees. Sorry, they didn't. If you lived in Aleppo, you didn't ask for your town to be blowed up. You might have to go somewhere else. I don't blame the refugees. They didn't ask for the town in Aleppo to be blowed up. I was sitting here thinking for a minute. Frommer's is going to have to rewrite its guide to Palestine because this place is not going to be the same once whatever Israel's about to do, saying 1 million people need to do the Book 2 Exodus, and they're being let out like the scenes in the Ten Commandments, and then, whoever's left behind must be the old ladies with the hip, that just had the hip operation or whatever, can't walk 40 miles down the road. I guess they're going to be Hamas. Israel will see them as Hamas. Everybody left behind. The mother that can't afford to take her little kids down the road, that must be Hamas. You just go clean it out. But Frommer's is going to have to rewrite the damn book because the same tourist attractions and water slides that you would go to, say, 5 weeks ago before this started won't be there. The first thing that Israel will do is take out the tourist attractions and the water slides because that creates money and revenue and funding for Hamas. This is Teismism 101, people. I'm giving you pearls here. So what's going to happen in this 6 hours? And hey, CNN, update your damn website. What's going to happen in 4 hours? There's some baker somewhere. He bakes bread. He's got gout. He can't walk 87 miles down the road. And I'm staying. I'm not fleeing the city. And here comes Israel. They're going to come in and say, "You baking bread? Yeah, you Hamas. Boom. That's it for you. That's it. No, what about my rights? That you ain't got none. Everybody left behind. If you're not with us, you're against us. If you're not 80 miles down the road, then you're against us. You're done for, bread maker." Then there's this whole radical, super radical faction inside of Israel. It's 5%. They're the settling faction, the settlers. Oh, if you have a Palestinian group over here and they just go down the mile of road, a mile away to do a picnic or something, they'll come in and settle in a half a day. They just left the goats and the chickens behind. All of a sudden they'll come back. Like, what the hell? You build houses on my property. And in the 5 hours we were down the road just having a little religious picnic, they'll settle your damn property if you go away from it for just a few hours. So the settlers are probably lining up right now to bring in cement trucks, and they'll start settling the damn areas that are being cleared out. Right now, these settlers can set up shop in hours, and then they demand to be protected by the Israeli government. Sitting in the middle of Palestinian territory, they expect no problems. Just like you look outside, say, this is Palestine, where I am here outside Philadelphia. We've all been here for how many years? And say, what the hell? Somebody just built a damn house right over there. It's a settler from Sudan that claims they have the rights to this property. And I wouldn't like it either. I don't blame them. These settlers right now they're lining up. They're going to go try to build as soon as the Palestinians start leaving Gaza. I'm not joking. Maybe that's the damn plan all along. Okay, the Hamas operation's over. 6 to 8 weeks, they're out there in tents, and the UN and the humanitarian aid and all that. And then, okay, you come on back, you poor devils. You can return to your... Isn't that a repeating theme? You can return to your homes like the wildfires, right? And keep them out. Oh, why would it's my home. It's my property. I have a right to it. No, you don't. You can't go back. It's the same repeating theme. Not Milk does this over and over. Okay, Palestinians, return to your home. And half of the homes will have Israeli settlers living in them. It's like when that kid in that Dr. Pepper commercial, the kid came back from college, the red one's called State or something, and was it Bryce Young was the quarterback for Alabama? He had become part of that white family, and he says, "Who are you? I'm the real son coming back from college." And Bryce Son's calling the kid dad in the Dr. Pepper commercial. They'll come back to their apartments in Palestine. There'll be Israeli families, settlers living in their apartments. Like, hey, dude, who are you? I live here. Who the fuck are you? Well, I've settled this now. It's mine, and this is my land. It's God's land, whatever. Well, what the hell? And oh, by the way, there's 5 armed guards with the equivalent of Israeli AK-47s down, and see, this is ours now. You get your Palestinian ass out of here. You left it. We settled it. Don't you know, sir, that possession what's the damn phrase? Possession is 90% of the law in terms of legal ownership. But why are you quoting me Western common law and case law here? This is the Middle East, bro. This is Palestine, Israel. It doesn't matter. Possession is 90% of legal law and tenant rights. We live here now. Your shit's moved out. Get out. Maybe that's the plan all along. We get them to move down the road, conduct some bogus operation against Hamas, gives these settlers, these crazies, just enough time to come in and squat. Literally the real meaning of squat, not the way I use it, meaning nothing. The Zimbabwe was the original squatters. They came in these farms where they just said, "This is ours. We're going to sit. This is ours. We're going to squat here. Just take it over. Just share a bathroom." Maybe that's the plan. This Not is evil genius. It's always 5 steps ahead of our dumbasses. All right, let's switch gears. Amazing how much time I spent on that, but it's a big story. And according to CNN, they've got hours left, so it was worth talking about. But I went to Target not long ago, and my Target down here has a whole section that's a food store. Is anybody like, "Oh, you go to Target? Oh, Matt, you sell it." "Oh, yeah, your big grocery store has nothing to do with the Not Milk." "Oh, no, it's not all related to the same." Are you the same type of person that use DuckDuckGo and think you're avoiding the Not Milk? Yeah, you need to understand how the world works. It's all ties back to the creepy table. Unless you're at a farm stand, you go up here at Lancaster County, and the Amish have little picnic tables set up where they have their fresh produce, whatever that is, and vegetables, and that's okay. That's not Milk. You go into your big grocery store, "Oh, yeah, that's okay." But Matt goes to Target. You wake up. Come on, sir, wake up. All ties back to the tributaries go the same. Not Milk, Dark Heart doesn't. Come on. So yes, I bought it, but here's the thing: nuts now. I think it was, they had them reduced to $13.99. It was legitimate for mixed nuts, not D's nuts, mixed nuts, $15. Now I have to buy them because it's all expensive anyway. But nuts is a great meal replacement for me. Like if I'm trying to, I do that fasting thing where I go 16 to 18 hours without eating. And sometimes to get to 1 o'clock where I have my lunch, dinner, late lunch, early dinner, then I don't eat till the next day. A handful of nuts gets me through that hour and a half. So I need these damn things. But, it's all expensive. And I think an onion's like $4 now. So but it's $15. $15 for a damn tin. It's a plastic thing. You can see through it of mixed D's nuts. I couldn't believe it. So just 3 or 4 minutes on the economy here, guys. Inflation is the only thing that will eventually bring this economic system down. It has to be inflation. There is never a shortage of money, as we've talked about. They can print $1 trillion a second or $1 trillion a minute, dole it out. The AI supercomputers can send that printed money up all over the world. The Fed balance sheet saying they must show you what they print is a bunch of absolute bullshit. They probably do $1 trillion a month or $1 trillion a week off books. That's doled out like we've talked about a million times. And eventually this tide of inflation it has to hit. I mean, we've already seen it, but I mean, real inflation, ridiculous. Like you go to get the nuts and it's $40. And then the stories start coming that little old ladies who went on Social Security 10 years ago, whatever, tens of thousands, cannot afford to eat, and real nasty situations. And then they will have to switch over to the new electronic currency. And again, nothing to worry about. They have it in place now. They don't have it in place now. Well, they do. It's running in parallel, I'm sure, now on some AI supercomputer. It's all ready to go. The whole system, they'll make it seem like a big crisis. They have the other system completely ready to go. And as we've talked about, what a coincidence. All the big corporations just in a week will all be ready for the new system, like it wasn't coming. They didn't have everything starting the implementation years ago. But, I think the AI at this point knows when the inflation will become like a runaway type situation. And it's been masterful at keeping it as low as it is. But when you dole out this many trillions, like a week, it's incredible that the nuts are only $15. Where if it wasn't perfectly AI managed and they were doling out or printing that much in the 20s or the 50s or the 1980s, the nuts would be $200 for a tin by now. The AI has kept it, but it just can't. It's the one thing that will bring everything down. It has to hit at some point. There is no way. I know, again, they kept it going this long. Like I've said, I'm repeating myself for the old guard, I know. But they've done it this long. Then maybe they'll keep it going for 5 more years or whatever, or more. It's just incredible how they keep this going. We're going to look up at 50, 70, 80 trillion in debt. People believe, the senators and the politicians will be saying the same old thing. We need to tighten the belts. Like none of that can ever be. If they even tried to pay back even a portion of it, it would implode the whole economy. It can't ever be paid back because growth requires new debt. They're linked in this system. You can't have one without the other. But I was talking to Rob the other day, and he's saying, well, now there's a dip. Lumber prices are coming down. Well, lumber prices maybe are coming down, but any dip in prices, it has to be temporary. The inflation, they have no other choice but to just print these trillions up and throw the trillions all over the world. That's why certain groups, like you'd say, where does this money come from? How are these people affording this? And this trickle-down money comes from people that work certain jobs or through defense contractors or just the money. How are they affording this? And the trillions are being thrown around. So to me, there's really only one option. Just convert useless currency and really just blips and digital zeros and ones into real things. So you're not sure if you're going to get that new roof? Get the new roof. Well, it might come down it might come down, but ultimately it's all going to hyperinflate. You get the new roof now, 30 or 50-year shingle, well, it'll outlive you. Turn your worthless blips in a bank into real things, into a new faucet or whatever. You put a cement patio or anything real that will last. It's the only sane thing to do in this type of financial situation. And, a lot of you do gold and silver, and that's like that to a degree. But in a real crisis, again, gold and silver ain't gonna feed anybody. I like real things that are useful. Bricks. My thing in the last few years has been fire bricks. For my wood stove or whatever. They're expensive. Go and buy 10 to 15 fire bricks at a time. I have a whole supply, 80, 90 fire bricks. I can use them. I could use them to make a rocket stove if I really needed to. I have an endless supply. It's not, thousands of fire bricks here, but I've accumulated them. That's like my little accumulation. Will always be worth more than what I bought them for. And I have room in my garage to store a few hundred. It's nice knowing they're there because they do disintegrate after 7 or 8 years inside the wood stove, but things like that. There are many things in this world that definitively you could say if they were purchased now, per the way the system is going, as long as the US dollar system exists, there's no possible way it would be worth less in the future than it would be worth now. That keeps up with any inflation or hyperinflation. There is a traditional old handgun called it's actually called a 1911, one of the first semi-automatic pistols for, I was right around World War I, single and double action. And, some of them go $12, $15, $1,600 with the pearl handle, and they're very not. There is not any chance something like that will be worth less in the future based under this current economic system. Well, Matt, why didn't they come and get them? Oh, yeah, that's right. We're terrified. Truthers 8 to 10 years ago, they're going to come get the guns. I mean, come on. This never happened in this country. Whatever happened to Australia, however they let that happen, it's not, the UK, it's not, there's 400 million guns in this country by some estimate. And there's still this red state, patriotic Second Amendment viewpoint where there's tens of thousands of people in the United States that would literally create a Waco situation versus they would never give them up. They would, can't say some of the things, that would never happen here. Nobody's taken anything in the United States. 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people would sooner blank than give them up. 25,000 Waco situations going down within 6 months? Ain't going to happen. Not going to do it here. Plus, the other 5 million people that own a variety of different types of guns. I mean, they're not going to take it to that level, but they're going to push right up until that level. As I've told you guys, these red state, zones between the blue state cities, several townships and counties on either side of Harrisburg, or out to Pittsburgh, or Altoona, Pennsylvania, down through Greg's neighborhoods in South Carolina. I mean, these people, they don't own a handgun, okay? If they don't own 10 to 20 guns, they're laughed at by their neighbors. It's not unusual in any way for much of the South and the certain parts of Arkansas, 20, 30, 40 guns in a household. Just commonplace. That's nothing. People will line up to go to gun shows. I used to go to all sorts of them myself. People lining up. You say, how many do you? They already own 20, 25, 30. They're just, and if they're not there to buy another gun, they're there to get another few thousand rounds of ammo. I'm not joking. Makes me very proud. Brings tears to my eyes, and knowing so many good people have so many guns. And you guys, look, this is appalling and shocking from a liberal Democrat perspective. Most of these people are pretty good people. They really are. And look, here's what it boils down to. We know there's a lot more things going on here than the first grade truther can possibly imagine. But it generally still boils down to this general argument. And I took the wrong side of it right after I graduated from Penn State. Of course, for many years after that, middle of the Matrix. Matrix boy. And I remember having a conversation with the guy actually ended up when he was part of our house for a year in Long Beach Island. Remember having a conversation with him many years ago, decades ago, about the guns and about, what's the purpose of the Second Amendment and why does it still have merit today? And he's taking the side, a government can become tyrannical. And I was taking the other side to that, believe it or not, back in the early 90s or mid 90s. Come on. You people think something could happen and you're going to need these guns and the government's going to turn evil. And I'm taking the liberal side, and I'm thinking he's a nut for he's trying to collect up ammo. And based on what we know about Knott-Nilk, of course, he was right. But then, Matt, the Knott-Nilk must have made a mistake a long time ago to allow the citizenry to be so well armed, or they made a mistake going back to the Second Amendment of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution. They made a big mistake. Well, not if they were banking on, say, human being 2.0. We're already certain iterations of potentially what may have been hundreds of years ago. Let's just say human being 10.0 or 666.0, if you like, 10.0. If you can change the fundamental nature of the human over generations, and then it becomes a Brave New World or Huxley. Does it at some point? Maybe they just willingly say, "My grandfather owned all these, and I don't need them anymore." They're patient hundreds of years into the future. They know that the people, these red state people that I talk about now, aren't going to just ever give them up. And I've talked. Greg's father. His dream in life is he's very old now. He doesn't have that much time left, but he wants to be a vigilante. His dream is to use one of his in a robbery, or let's say he's at a convenience store, and the convenience store is being robbed, or even a break-in into his own home. Greg's like, his dream is to use one as to help out, like to be a vigilante. These people aren't ever going to probably in this generation evolve into, no matter how many mRNAs, whatever they do to people, they're not going to become human being 10.0. But the grandparents of this generation, or the grandchildren of this generation, after they've been mRNA'd for whatever, for how many decades and decades, be like, maybe passivity. Who knows? Oh, my grandfather had all these. We don't need them. And they'll just turn them into their Soylent Green gun collection zone for their federal tokens, which can be exchanged for heads of lettuce. They'll just turn them in. As you evolve the human, it doesn't matter how many guns there are, because they'll never be, there's no, that sense of what America used to be is gone. They're not worried about it because they're patient in evolving what they call the human being. That's their tactic. And from that perspective, they don't care how many guns exist, because eventually a zombified population, maybe it's 50 to 70 years from now, a zombified population will want to get rid of them, won't want them. You'll, Schwab, Santa Claus, you'll own nothing and like it, like Spalding. You'll own nothing and be happy, whatever. Well, that doesn't sit right. Who would want to, well, when you evolve into human 10.0, you can't fathom that. You'll own nothing and be happy. But whatever they want to evolve the human into, and they're very patient in waiting, then that person will go along with what the not nilk wants. Maybe these guns will never be used, turned in for heads of lettuce, whatever it may be. They're not they don't make mistakes in this regard. They think around three corners at once. Or even in our community, we struggle just seeing around one from time to time. To my friend Tony and your family, there is no corner to see around. If you're thinking there's another motive, Matt, you think there's another motive, aim, or objective to government, and where you'd have to have the perception to see around more than one corner at once? You just have to sit down and turn on CNN, and that will tell you what the world is. What's the matter with you people? Separate topic here presents absolute, definitive, in-your-face evidence of a one-world system. Like, we need another piece of evidence after the 10,000 we already have. I mean, the C, the V in 2020, that if anybody wasn't sure, that proved it. But this is small, but it's just something that came up in the last few weeks. Know some people that work at very, very large corporations, very large. And they're saying, well, we're being required to go into the office now. It was always work from home. All those systems are established, all the remote stuff. But now we've got to go in 3 days out of 5, or some companies might say 5 out of every 15. You need to be in the office, and we'll know where you are, and you have to use your badge. And there's some, very threatening. You must do this, or your job could be in jeopardy. And I asked to these people, I said, well, do you hear of any other companies doing this? Is just your company? No, this seems to be like in our competitors, our big, huge corporate competitors. They're having to go into work. Now, it might not be every Fortune 500 company or whatever, but all of a sudden, right, just in a few weeks, multiple big corporations in similar industries are requiring people go back, all making similar decisions at the same time. I'm sure there are exceptions, and I'm not going to give out any specifics. Do we need any more evidence of a creepy table making decisions basically for the entire corporate world? And of course, my friend Tony and your cousins would always have a way to explain it away, and we're just one of those people. Matt, in every segment of the Fortune 500, in every corporate industry group, there's always a leader, a company that sets the tone or the trends, and the others seem to follow. So if, say, in American manufacturing, Ford Motor Company is doing a certain thing, then General Motors might start doing it. Or if Microsoft starts doing a certain thing, then Cisco Systems and others might. And in the AI system, we have that six satanic company, OpenAI. Whatever they start doing, its six satanic competitors will start to do. See, Matt, you have leadership positions in every segment, and the other companies follow along. Now, doesn't that make more sense, Matt? What do you people think it is? Well, we think it's a one-world system, and basically like a creepy table approach dictates to its corporate tentacles what everybody's going to do, basically coming out of a small group that controls basically everything in the corporate world. Well, Matt, that's what I thought you were going to say. And just like before, I'm going to hold back in calling your relatives so you're not committed. But you're going to, next time I ask you that, I want a better answer, or we will have you committed to the asylum. But Tony, the evidence of this is all over the place. In 2020, it put the entire world almost into a face covering in 6 to 8 weeks. Every single country went along with the dictates, is that a word? The directives, dictates, and documentation in the same way, and all adopted in a matter of 6 to 8 weeks, with certain countries kept as rebellious outliers, like what was it, Sweden as a control country. Does anybody really think Sweden decided to do its own thing? You've got to be kidding me. Sweden was some sort of control, I don't know what else to call it, country. Do you think the Not-Nilk knows anything about the human psyche and psychology, going back to its Edward Bernays days? Oh, it knows how populations behave, and because it collects up 100 billion pieces of information a second and puts it into its AI. It can't even call itself Twitter anymore to do that. It has to call itself X. So it knows the human psyche. So maybe it just knows you just have one country that does something a little bit different, like Sweden, and then that cements in the believability. Maybe you would have a whole, not that everybody would have been on our side, but you might have had a small group that emerged, and even 1% that translates into millions of people. They simply needed to show that countries are doing their own thing. Look at Sweden here. No masks, whatever. So anyway, guys, the real joke was those African leaders. Was it Malawi or Tanganyika? Or I don't know. Remember the dude came forth and truthers thought that he was on our side. Oh, sure. Yeah, that's not a script. Yeah, he's on the Not-Nilk would allow some African leader in some story that spread around the world that he PCR tested a banana, or he PCR tested a cantaloupe, a mango, a pool of oil, Matt Damon's muddy hoof print full of water in True Grit. He and it all came up positive. He said, let's just say we had the leadership of Malawi or Tanganyika or whatever on our side. And let's just say he was skeptical of the PCR test. Bottom talking about a real news story that came out of Africa in 2020. Let's just say this happened. Do you think the Not-Nilk Ministry of Information would allow that story to get to the United States, into the hands of our community? I mean, come on. What an absolute... Well, why did they do it then? Because to the average person, there's no believability in what some leader of Tanganyika says versus the trusted Dr. F. Pam said she had friends that just were in love with Dr. F. I mean, just thought he was the cutest. They respected everything he said, and he's just out to help people. And they actually, one of them had a shirt, something about in praise of him. He didn't just look like, because it looked like some little nasty troll to us that everybody looked like. He threw out the first pitch. People loved him. So you're going to take his advice. If you're one of the masses, you're going to take his advice and you love him. He's some friendly little, he's like, to us, he's like Goebbels or Himmler. Yeah, actually not like that. Thousands of times worse. But to the masses, he's the one that's, of course, fully trusted. And, they're going to trust whatever some leader of Lake Malawi is saying about the PCR test. I mean, come on. And if the Not-Nilk was worried about it anyway, and this guy was really speaking out on behalf of good people, the story would have never reached our tired, broke asses in the truth community in the United States. This community of first-grade truthers needs to wake the F up. Guys, I'll close with this, but this could take a little while to play out, especially if I was going to do a whole video on this one Star Trek episode I saw. The original Star Trek, I've watched little bits and pieces over the years. I never watched it. And TV is so horrible, of course, now that, I mean, Greg and I, once a week, we like, you got anything for me? No, you got anything for me? Like, is there anything at all to put on the television? Oh, righteous truthers. Oh, they're going to start it. Matt, you still watch TV? Matt, you lost me at Daytona 500. The righteous truthers they have to always tell you how, if you're that wonderful, keep it to yourself. You know what? After you study dark reality 7 days a week for like decade after decade after decade, the only escape I have is going down and watching some mindless-ass television, a few IPAs, and having that Fifi Addy on my lap. Without that, I'd be insane. This channel wouldn't exist. Is that what you want? I have to do this. Don't tell me about, I don't watch TV. Nobody cares. I have to. if anybody wants to pay for really, really high priced, what's like $2,000, $3,000 a night to come in here every night and pleasure me, well, then I don't have to watch television. But in lieu of that, I need to watch television. So Greg and I try to find what it would. Anyway, I said, Greg, I'm going back to the original Star Trek. And maybe at this point, I don't know, I'm getting close to halfway through season 1. And I appreciate it. It looks a little ridiculous at times, and they had no budget. They didn't know if it would even work when it was the late 60s. But for what it is and some of the big concepts, I'm appreciating it. The laying the foundation for all of sci-fi for the next 50 years. I am appreciating it. Anyway, there's one particular episode, and just a few minutes into it, I'm like, is this like some sort of not nilk truth drop or metaphor? And I was going to do a whole video about it. We'll see how long this goes now. Let me try to put 10 minutes into 60 seconds or less. All right, Enterprise needs to go out to this M-class planet that's similar to Earth. It has breathable atmosphere, whatever. There's a scientist working on the planet, and I guess he's with his wife. They are there to drop supplies, and they have to check in on the scientists they have all over the galaxy, whatever. So the routine stop by the Enterprise. Kirk and whoever, Bones, beam down, and it's the scientist, but his wife had died many years ago, and it was some alien that had replaced his wife. The man, or the scientist, knew it was not his wife, knows he's now living with this alien that's taken up the form of his wife. Anyway, she doesn't eat chicken wings or KFC or whatever he eats. She needs just salt to live. That's it. This alien that has taken up the form of this scientist's wife needs salt to live and to survive. So Kirk arrives, and the guy's like pushing for the supplies. Well, we need those supplies, Kirk. And he's like, well, no, we'll get you the supplies, whatever. He does. Well, I'm thinking this is some sort of weird metaphor or some sort of not nilk truth drop. And I'm thinking early on, well, why don't they there'd be no TV show if they did this. But I'm thinking, is this what's going on with the not nilk itself in the situation that we're in? Guy and his wife, the wife is an alien, taking up the form. Why don't they just tell Kirk, the scientist who's really the original real scientist, says, Kirk, look, this is a little shocking, but you're used to dealing with new aliens. Isn't that what you do out there in the galaxy? A new life and new civilizations. And my wife here is an alien, and this is great for you. You can meet a new form of life. Now, she needs salt. We're very low. Would you drop us off 4,000 pounds of salt? Good. I need to go get it now. Well, of course, they're low on salt, so the alien starts taking out crew member by crew member that's down there with Kirk, the red shirts, the ones that get taken out, and draining all the salts out of the body. So initially Bones can't understand, why are these people dying? They had no ailments, there's nothing wrong with them. And then he finally figures out everybody that's died, their salt's being drained. And then she eventually finds her way onto the Enterprise and starts, anybody that gets in her way, she'll kill to get salt. And I'm thinking all along, I'm going to relate this to the not nilk. I'm thinking, well, as soon as Kirk arrived, why not just say, this is an alien, but we need salt. Hey, and if you give us the salt and everything, Kirk would have been like, sure, okay, cool. How many thousands of pounds do you need? We can replicate all you need. So I think this often, and I've never really thought it through to the end, but sometimes I think, and we'll do a whole video on this. They can't do it justice here at the end. The not nilk needs certain things. We talk about loose energy and our energy and attention to put people in a certain emotional state. Egregores, things here feed off the state that it puts all of society and culture in, and people's stress and worry and anxiety. And sometimes you just want to say to it, and again, ChatGPT, don't answer me right now, let it load, please, and just say, not nilk, why you go through all this bullshit? Now, we'll talk about, there's a lot of reasons why it's a role player in this reality system, why it must do this. But for the people that claim hijacked and everything, why doesn't it just ask for what it needs? Well, Matt, what do you mean? Why doesn't it just come forward and say, hey, I'm tired of playing this trick to get what I need from you people. Just ask for why doesn't it just ask for what it needs? And maybe some people will step up and give it to it. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? It's like there's a lot of ways this can go. And I never really explored it in detail. It just hit me when I watched this Star Trek episode. The alien needs salt. She starts killing everybody to get the salt. Well, why don't you just ask for it and announce that you're an alien? It's okay. Isn't that what Kirk does? He likes seeking out new life forms. Why did you assume there would be any problem at all? Is that the situation that Not Nilk has got itself into, needing to play a trick to harvest whatever it needs? Why don't you stop playing the trick and just ask for what you need? Who knows? Maybe it'll all work out. I doubt it. I think it's a role player inserted into this reality so we could have different sorts of experience. It might not be allowed per the rules here to ever evolve outside of its trick or ask for anything. But anyway, I related to the Star Trek. I can't do it now. My little brain is a little fogged. The night is gone. The brain is shot, but the liquor we still got. But the truth research we still got. I can't talk about it now, and I'm sure that didn't come out right, but I'm not going to re-record. But we'll just continue to, as the Chat GPT listens to my presentations before I upload, I'll continue to say, just ask for what you need. Maybe somebody can give it to you. Matt, that means that doesn't say I'm going to give it to it. I don't know. We'll have to see what it needs first. If it needs to Yankee my wanky, I can't offer that. I don't know what it needs, really. We speculate it needs loosh. I don't know exactly what it needs, but I can't try to fulfill whatever it needs until it just announces what it needs. So maybe why don't you come out from behind your damn curtain? Stop being such a son of a bitch. And if you have certain needs, just be honest. Tired of this trick bullshit all the time. Well, Matt, it doesn't have to ask for anything because it has successfully fooled the masses and the billions. Well, I hear you. But the realist people is right here. The realist people, if that's even a word, we see through the trick. Whatever you getting from your NPCs or whatever, that ain't no good. Maybe just ask real people like us what you need and we can talk. I don't know. Matt, you going to be the ambassador, go out to meet Not Nilk like the end of Close Encounters? I don't know. I got to see it's got to tell me through the Chat GPT what it really requires out of real people first. I can't promise we're going to give it anything that it needs. Maybe it just needs Yankee my wanky. We don't do that. So we'll see. All right. Thanks for listening.